Based on Shala's response to him, I'm going to assume that's Raid Astria. Ain't no doubt in my mind that has got to be him because she didn't want to have nothing to do with him. Based on the last episode, her response to him in general was like, he's his bully, he's horrible, he's scum of the earth, he bullies everybody, he bullied me a lot. Now, like, in front of him right here, she is terrified. Please get me away from this guy. She passes out, starts foaming at the mouth, everything. That was an interesting little introduction there. Now, the question mark is, if this is Raid, why doesn't he recognize Shala? I have a theory there. And it was something that kind of was created in the last episode, and now is kind of solidifying this episode and kind of evolving in a way. Last episode, at some point, we had, of course, Meili was on the back of Shala, at some point pulling her ponytail. And she said something to the effect of, that's my tail. And that was like, okay, why would you have a scorpion tail as a ponytail? Like, it kind of gave this sense of, like, some sort of beast. But I didn't really want to kind of, commit to it, even though, Meili was constantly around her. As we get into this episode, there was several points where it's like, okay, yeah, this is going to be a Mabeast. This is going to be a Mabeast. And that would explain why Raid doesn't recognize Shala, is that this isn't what the Mabeast self of Shala would recognize. He's like, he sees the Shala in front of him, doesn't see the Mabeast that she once was, and that's why he doesn't recognize her. This episode, there was a couple things that were stated. One being the fact that she's not a spirit. So you question, like, how do you live that long if you're not a spirit? Unless you're something else. You can't be human at this point. We're kind of confirmed at that point. You can't be human unless somebody puts some, like, long living spell upon a human. They can live for a long time. I don't remember if I've seen any sort of confirmation of that kind of stuff. But one, Meilei's constantly around her, having to ring her in. At some point, they said when she brought up the fact that she's not a spirit, then what are you? It kind of zoomed in on Meili. Like, it seemed like the animators were a little bit too obvious there. Like, let's suddenly zoom in on Meili when we question what Shala actually is, and again, Meili being able to control him. But yeah, just the fact that at some point she said, if none of the rules are broken, I get to keep this body. Which again, the whole ponytail being a scorpion tail, this being a body that she was planted inside, Raid not recognizing Shala, who seems to have a lot of memories of him, it all points to me believing that way back when Raid was around and Shala was around, she was a Mabeast, a scorpion-like Mabeast probably, and bullied her a lot. Then at some point, her master took her as this Mabeast and plant inside this new body, which is her body that she's in now. And yeah, she's been living that way for a long time. And now, again, being reintroduced to Raid is terrified. That's my theory. And yeah, technically with Subaru now saying, rein her in, gonna be able to do that. Able to control Shala, so it's going to be perfectly easy for her to do because it's a Mabeast. Meili jumping on top of there and grabbing the handlebars, she's set to go. But yeah, very, very interesting introduction into Raid. I like the whole bit where he's like, hot, sexy, brat, follower, coward, or whatever, weakling. Not your follower. Took a special interest in Amelia and her youthful look and how beautiful she is, but yeah, this guy seems so far like it's matching up with what Shala said. This is a scumbag. This is a guy that's like dirt. He's just a guy that just, the question is where is he? When is he? There's the question. When is he? The assumption here is that when they get to this particular trial, it's summoning him. It's reviving him, ? Because it seems like he just wakes up from like a night before where he's partying. So it almost gives like sense of like when the trial starts, it summons him from a certain point in time. And that point in time was that the night before he had gotten really badly drunk or something like that. But like he just appears and suddenly he's here. He's like, oh gosh, I just hangover, whatever. I'm not going to assume that he's been around here the entire time. It's got to be a certain set point in time that he is being brought in. But again, because he's presumably not been around for 400 years at this point. I would assume maybe potentially less than that, a little bit less than that. But either way, very, very interesting introduction. And if it, again, it is Raid, the assumption here is like, oh my gosh, this is a sword saint. That means that does Subaru and them have to take him on? Is Julius legit going to take this guy on? Julius is gonna get wrecked. He did say all he had to do was make him move by 1 foot, which is a common little trial here. Like literally, Nippon Sangoku has that whole thing, and they're in that like second episode or so. Is like this point where you got to make me kneel. That whole trial thing there. It hopefully shouldn't be too difficult, but I don't see it happening. I think Subaru's going to have to do something crazy just to get him to move at least a foot. And hopefully at that point, get the answer they need. But Yeah, episode 71. Solid episode. We got a little bit of insight into Typhon. That was unexpected. That was unexpected. I did get a lot of vibes in this episode of the library in Mushoku Tensei. For those that know. Very different concept here, but similar in a regard. This idea of this big, massive library that is accumulating memories, question mark? Like, it seems like it's based off of individuals that have, or at least what, Beatrice is assuming here. These are all individuals that have died, that their memories are here. I'm not sure how she comes to that conclusion, because you can assume that it's everybody's memories. What made her come to the conclusion that has to be people that have died? That was the part that I couldn't really follow her on. But it does, again, I can see what she's saying here. It's based on all these individuals, all their names, and able to, if you know them, open it up and see memories. That part we could pretty much confirm because, again, Julius has, met this one individual. He was able to see the memories. Subaru, again, has met Typhon, so he's able to see those memories. But very interesting little library there. And yeah, kind of gets to my original thought process when he first enters there. Looking up, I thought that initial impression was, holy crap, this is going to take forever. Like, there's no way we're going to find the book that we need in this map, which is pretty much the conclusion they come to in the very end, is like, nah, there's no way we're going to find what we're looking for in here. You're talking about billions upon trillions, if even that, depending on how long this world has been around, beyond even recorded history. How many books would be in there? It's absolutely insane. But anyways, let's get the episode proper. Opening up the episode with, Subaru, again, saying that it's horrible. My response there, I thought there was going to be something that he's seen there, but no, it just seems that based on the fact that the only way to get in there is to know about the previous world, Sky, which, again, goes to my theory. I think this guy knows Subaru. He knows that Subaru is going to come here. Flugel, in creating this entire trial, I think it was created with the mindset that eventually Subaru was going to come here. Again, the question mark's going to be who Flugel is and how he knows about Subaru. But there's even like a later part where when Shala was talking about the rules, I think even there it implies that they knew that Subaru was going to have return by death as well. The idea that if they leave the trial at any point, leave the tower without completing the trial, kill them. I think they know that it's going to cause Subaru to have to come back, and he's going to eventually realize, I can't leave here. I have to finish the trial. But that all said, yes, going in there, seeing all the scrambled text and everything, acknowledging that even Shala looks like she's never been here before. And yeah, she kind of confirms that later on, never been above the 4th level. But yeah, that's when we get eventually Subaru running into the book about Typhon. Very, very interesting. There's a part in here that I really like. At the same time, I wish we got a little bit more. And the fact that, yes, it looks like Typhon, and growing up, she always seen everything as black and white, good and evil, and her father was this individual that punished people for their crimes. Based on the scale, he decided what was good and evil, and exact punishment for them. And it acknowledged the idea that she never really understood any of it. Even though it's something that he wanted to kind of distill upon her, she never really kind of understood it. Until eventually, she did a boo-boo. She messed up and broke something important. And at that point, she was very terrified of him, confessed to him that she did it. And in return, he just said, you understood it and you confessed. That's good. And this seemed to be a trigger for her. It seemed to be an awakening point. Like, visually, it shows like this is an awakening point for her. Like, her powers as Witch of Pride seem to have been manifest at this point. Suddenly, her arms are glowing and her eyes glowing. This was an awakening moment for her. I hope that eventually we can get into what exactly that means, what bestowed that upon them, whatever. But what was cool here, what was interesting here that I really liked is that, yes, beyond this point, she goes to one of these executions again that her father's regularly doing. And there she calls out to the individual, did you do something bad? Are you an evil doer? And the person immediately breaks. Note here, similar to the cup itself. And it was the same for Subaru back there. Let's be honest. When Subaru, when she confronted Subaru, he broke the same way. It is interesting that everybody that is affected by her magic, her ability, all crumble the same way. That it's all based on this one cup that she broke. But the interesting thing here is that it says the scale that weighs the gravity of the crime could only be found in the heart of the one that committed it. One of my assumptions here is that it's going to be based on guilt, personal guilt, which is technically an interesting thing. That she is sort of punishing people based on what they individually feel what they've done wrong. Because yes, you can have somebody that is extremely innocent. A good example here is a child. When a child breaks something very early on in their life, they don't understand that that is something bad. They don't understand that has a value to it. They don't understand that it took money, which took, hours of work in order to, purchase and then thus own. Or they don't understand that, this cup right here has more value to it than this cup because the first one was given to them as a gift from somebody that is now passed away. The child themselves don't understand the gravity of the crime itself, thus they shouldn't be punished because internally, in their own weighted scale, they don't see it's bad. Whereas somebody who is an adult and goes out and steals something from a shop, they know deep down their mind there's a guilt there. They understand what they did was wrong. So I think the idea here is that she's essentially weighting the punishment based on you doing something you knowingly know is bad. It's a cool concept. It's technically a cool concept. Again, I'm assuming that a lot of this has to do with the weight of guilt, which makes me kind of wonder what was weighing on Subaru's heart. I don't remember there was being any sort of kind of implication there back when he first was confronted by her, but it's still an interesting concept. But yeah, going back there, beyond this point, she even punished her own father, which, again, I would assume everybody within this arena, all their guilt is probably based on the fact that they're all sitting there cheering on the death of people. Like, there is a sick element here, and deep down inside, they all feel it. They all know it. But there is also an element here where I think she's enacting the whole element of, the who is, completely innocent, throw the first stone kind of thing. All these individuals all have some sort of rule or something they have broken. It's just it hasn't been found out yet. Or at the same time, we're essentially scaling everything the same. Whether you, again, stole an apple or you killed somebody, it's all equal to her. And thus she goes around and punishes everybody. She finally sees the wrong in everything. And it's what, again, internally, I think the guilt of people. And that's what I got out of that whole scene. It's pretty cool when you think about it that way, either way. I thought it was an interesting little dynamic here. And interesting how that sort of warps in her mind. At that moment, of course, her walking away from there, she's just taking out everybody. She's literally just punishing literally everybody in front of her, which is crazy. And again, it's equal to Subaru's first reaction. Like he says right after he wakes up from the book, it's like she was a living manifestation of innocent cruelty. Like she was so evil and cruel, but yet she didn't even see the wrong in it. She was smiling the entire time as I was being broken up in a million pieces. That whole thing there. But yeah, he gets snapped out of it, starts panicking. Again, that's the point where they realize, based on what Julius ends up seeing, is that yes, he was able to see it because he met the Witch of Pride. And again, his experiences with her. Now, it's interesting here that when he brings up the fact that he met her at the graveyard, he says that Emilia's seen the same thing, seen a similar element, and the idea that she was able to see her own past. But he says here, it wasn't as easy as yours because it was just you. Which I kind of wonder if Emilia's response to this is like, yeah, it was easy, like, sure. If whatever you say, it was an easy experience. Like, no, it wasn't necessarily easy. Like, what Emilia ended up having to see was painful for her. I mean, she accepted it. She put on a very good, brave face the entire time she went through that, but it still hurt. It still hurt in the end. But there was a lot of bittersweet in her memories, though. Anyways, after this, we get a little brief scene where Subaru confronts Meili and asks her a few questions about her past and the fact that she was an assassin, and she's been an assassin for 6 years. And yeah, she's only just, it's funny, it's like, I'm not really working, I'm just doing what mother says. Like, I just want to do whatever she says. And again, this is this individual that she's afraid of seeing again. Now, it does say right here that, she's been doing this ever since, like, she was young, and that she never had any parents, that she was abandoned as a child, and she was raised by a Mabeast. Now, she doesn't say the Mabeast is mom, so I'm assuming that she was raised by the Mabeast because she had the ability to speak to them, so there's this divine protection that she has that allows her to communicate with them. I'm assuming that at some point while she was being raised by the Mabeast, she then met Mother. I don't think that it's implying that Mother is a Mabeast. Question mark. Either way, I like how she kind of puts this in the idea that, Subaru sees, something that's sad. She doesn't necessarily see it the same way. Like, this is my life. Like, he's bringing up the idea that, hey, let me see if I can find your parents so you can read about them. And she's like, why? Why? I don't really see them as parents. I do like the fact that in the end, she doesn't see them as evil or anything like that. There's even an element where there's a sad reality that she's acknowledging that I probably was discarded because of my divine protection. Because I could speak to Mabeast, That's probably why they got rid of me. So it's like the whole like aspect of a blessing or a curse. Does this thing curse me to have to never have had parents? But I still had a family. I still had something that was raising me. I had a life and everything like that. There is an element here where Meili doesn't understand the element of a mother and father because she never had it to begin with. Does she even know what she lost? That whole thing. Yeah, like the fact that she's like, I think you've gotten too many romantic interests. Don't be asking me questions. I'm just kidding. Sit down. Let's talk. She's got a goofy little personality. But that's when we have a little conversation with Shala as they're trying to figure out where the entrance to the next floor is. They're realizing we're not going to be able to find what we need to find in this place. There's way too many damn books. Again, they come to the conclusion that they have literally a book for every single person that has ever lived, which is going to take forever. So I decided to ask Shala where the entrance to the next exam is going to be. And she gives the 5 rules for keeping the place, which is interesting that Anastasia brings this up. And again, I'm assuming this is probably going to be Eridona. Probably Eridona is specifically, knowing something about these rules that typically would be kept for somebody that is a keeper, which implies that Eridona at some point had to be a keeper. Or it could be Anastasia here, and she's just basically laying out what she would typically do for a keeper. But either way, yeah, we have 5 secrets that you have to keep. And I like the fact that he brings it up and suddenly Shadow's like, yeah, okay, I'll tell you the 5 secrets. Yes, there is 5 secrets I gotta keep. Again, interesting here that at some point, acknowledging that this is not a human, not a spirit, again, zooming in on Meili, but she lays out the 5, which is 1, once you start the exams, you can't leave. And she says, basically, I'm going to essentially turn into a heartless killer and kill you. Like, even though I made that promise back there, that's null and void. Like, that's gone. I'm gonna have to kill you. Again, I think that that's specifically there for the sake of probably bad, anybody else that comes in here. But I think it's purposely there because this individual knew Subaru was going to be here eventually and probably knew that you could just kill him and he'll come back here and he'll have to restart. This will keep him here until he finishes this whole thing. I don't know. Second is don't violate the rules, which seems to be a concern for Julius, which is a good concern here because you have to know all the rules, and hopefully we know all the rules for the exams. It doesn't seem like it ever really lays out rules. Is really the concern there, right? The first exam and the second exam. When was any rules stated with those 2 exams? There weren't. That's kind of concerning. Third, disrespecting the archive is forbidden. That sounds concerning because they were technically saying that at least the master was dumb for making this whole thing. They made a lot of comments about how stupid the place is, the deciphering and all that kind of stuff, the obscuring of the letters and everything. Fourth is any action intended to damage the tower is forbidden, which I'm assuming that's probably going to come up at some point. Especially here with the fight with Raid. I'm kind of wondering if they might damage the area, but we'll see. But yeah, 5, there's nothing. I'm assuming at some point a 5th rule is going to come up. I think that Anastasia bringing that up or Aridona bringing that up, there's going to be a 5th one. And I think that Shala is just keeping that one a secret, but we'll see. But yeah, again, she says right here, as long as she keeps all those and none of the rules are broken, her body belongs to herself or her master, which is Subaru. Again, I think this is a Mabeast that's planted in there, and they're saying that if they keep these, they get to keep the body, and they really like the body. Like they used to be the scorpion thing, and they enjoy being in this body. They probably find it very sexy. But yeah, at that point, Amelia brings up an idea of going back where they came before, and they end up finding a new set of stairs, which seems to have been potentially another cognitive distortion. They go up the stairs. I like how running up the stairs with Beatrice in his hands. She's like, wee! The 2 of them are so dorky. She just loves it so much. She doesn't want to admit how much she's having so much fun with Subaru. It's so great. But yes, they get up there, they find the sword, pull the sword, and it says, what would it say? Fool who has attained the heavenly sword, earn his pardon. Which I'm guessing the assumption there is that they have to defeat Raid, or at least have Raid give them a pardon. The assumption is this is going to be him that has to get the pardon. But again, very, very interesting introduction there. Again, Shala freaking out, which implies to me that is Raid. And yes, passing out. And basically, again, gauging every single person in front of him. Hot chick, sexy chick, brat, follower. Wuss. The follower thing, again, I think that's another tip to the idea of him being Raid Astria. I'm assuming that Julius looking up to the Sword Saints so much that potentially he sort of sees his pupil in Julius because of how much he looks up to them. So that's my assumption there. Again, another kind of tie-in that they might have there. It's going to be so great if next week it ends up not being Raid. All these theories of it being Raid, and it's going to be so stupid if it's not. But yeah, it wraps up with him saying, "Call me the stick swinger." I don't remember if they've ever mentioned the idea of the first Sword Saint and them being a stick swinger. I don't know. I could be forgetting something. I mean, that's similar to like the names they found when they first come in the library. I'm assuming they may have been brought up before at some point. I would think that Subaru would probably pick up on some of them, like, oh, I heard that name before, but that would be a little bit too convenient if the first two they run into ends up being like people that have been mentioned before. It's a little bit too on the nose. But again, interesting introduction, a little bit more susness around Shala. Again, looking a little bit more into Typhon, which I kind of wish that they spent a little more time on Typhon, honestly. Or at least find the other books, which that would be way too convenient if he's like all the witches are right next to each other and he starts just going through each one of them. That would be, again, a little bit too convenient, but good little episode. Really enjoy this episode. Looking forward to more as always. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video as always. If you did, hit the like button down below. Until next time, y'all take care.